Regulars to the Knox YouTube channel might have become accustomed to wheelies, burnouts and ridiculously powerful motorcycles, but in actuality we love all things two-wheeled, and today something quite different. This is the Super Socko CPX. Now this is the most powerful electric scooter in the Super Socko range, with a claimed power of 4 kilowatts, 171 newton meters of torque, a range of 87 miles, a top speed of 56 miles an hour and a recharge time of between 3 and 4 hours. Now Super Socko UK claim that this is a fast and nimble 125 killer, and in this video we're going to be putting the bike to the test and really testing out that claim. Is this the nail in the coffin for the combustion engine scooter? Well, we're going to find out. Okay, little ride out on the CPX. So I've been using the CPX for probably 3 or 4 days commuting to and from work. I've got a 14-mile commute to home. Obviously we do live in a rural setting here in Cumbria, and maybe that is not the absolute perfect picture perfect scenario for a scooter, but actually, do you know what, I just discredit that, because I've owned scooters, and I used them extensively. That was the first vehicle I ever owned, and I lived here and I used it to get around. So I don't think there is necessarily a perfect customer for this. But yeah, I love scooters. I've owned them, I've loved them, I've ridden them in all sorts of weather, I've ridden them in snow, all sorts of stuff. So I'm a real fan, even though I ride a big motorcycle now. The first thing you notice on this scooter is that obviously it's electric, and if you haven't ridden a electric scooter or vehicle before, the sensation is very different. Well, basically there isn't any, you just sort of gather speed. The other thing is, yeah, we've got some different riding modes on here. You've got riding mode 1, which is eco, which knocks you right back actually to about 28 miles an hour. So it doesn't stop your acceleration up to that speed, but it knocks you back. 2, I think, takes you up to about 40, and then 3, that's full power basically. I'll just take you round a roundabout. Yeah, so I've just kept it in 3. Next thing you notice about the Super Socko is that, yeah, it's not that fast. Words like perky, peppy, zippy, nippy, none of those words should be used in the same sentence as this scooter. This is not a peppy or quick or nippy scooter. It will gather speed, I'll give it that, it does gather speed, but it's definitely not fast. But it is a comfortable place to be, the screen is really great, you can tuck behind that and feel very shielded. All of the dials are lovely to use. Actually the lights are pretty good as well. Obviously it's on low beam all the time. Put it into to full beam, they're actually pretty good. I wouldn't bother with the riding modes because it just doesn't need them. The indicators work fine. Come on, can we do it? Can we do him? Can we do him? No. So you can see, I mean, luckily today we've got no headwind, so there's very little wind out. So I'm cruising here at like 57 miles an hour, which is obviously the sort of speed that you ideally would be on these sort of A roads, and that's what my commute is. And obviously on a scooter, you know, it's full throttle everywhere, and trying to slipstream traffic as much as you can. If I can tuck behind a lorry at some point, then obviously that'll just pull me on. But hopefully this gives you a good little feel of what this has been like to commute on. Actually, do you know what? I've enjoyed myself on this scooter. I think it's been quite good, and definitely I would consider a scooter just to commute to and from work on. I mean, you know, there's something just like easy about them, that you can just jump on and ride it. You know, it doesn't feel like you've got a big faff to do. I don't know, it's probably not that much less faffy than a big motorcycle, but it just feels it. Just something about jumping on a scooter is just great, and going out wherever you want. So I really like that. Obviously on this thing there are some downsides, and we'll come on to that in the review. So I think you've seen me long enough going on a road. On a straight road, unfortunately, is not that much more dynamic than that, and a couple of roundabouts and stuff. And now we're going to take you into the review and tell you what I think about this CPX scooter. So the Super Socko CPX, we're going to start off on what is good about this scooter. Now the first thing that's really good is that it's an electric vehicle, and on the assumption that the electricity powering this scooter was produced in a renewable way, whether that's wind, solar or tidal, this solution should be much more environmentally friendly and sustainable for our planet than a combustion engine motor, and that is a good thing. And whether you like it or not, electric vehicles will form a bigger part of our lives going forward, with the UK government actually committing to a date of 2040 where they're going to stop the sales of combustion engined motorcycles, scooters, cars. You know, it's really, really important that we're investing, that we're developing products like this, so that we've all got something to ride when that time comes. Next thing that's great about the Super Socko is the fact that it looks great. In my opinion, I think it's a really nice looking scooter. I don't think you've got any compromises from whether it's petrol or whether it's electric. I think it looks sharp. I like the black. I like the design features on it. I really like the fact that they've got little things like the handlebar clamp has got the Super Socko logo in it. And I just think overall the thing looks sharp for a scooter, and I'm very happy with the way that it looks. Third thing that's great, it's really, really easy to use this. Similar to a petrol scooter, you know, take the immobilizer off, put the key in, turn the ignition, and away you go. It's, you know, you're not going to get confused with using this bike. Very, very simple. All the switch gear is really straightforward. It's also really easy to operate how you're going to charge it up as well. You definitely don't need a degree in electronic science. You basically, to charge it up, you just plug it in here. If you are going to put it in a garage overnight, or if you want to take the batteries out and put them inside, you know, it's very easy to work out how to do that. Just take the big wires off, carry them inside and insert it into a standard wall socket in your home. Other cool thing about the CPX is it comes with a fantastic screen up the front, which provides really, really good weather protection. So if it's raining, it's really windy, or it's very cold and you want to get some good shielding, it's really possible with this. So you know, and because the engine doesn't make any noise whatsoever, you tuck yourself behind this screen, and because there's no noise coming from the motor, and you know, you're very well protected by the screen, it kind of almost feels like you're in a car, which is bonkers because you're actually on a scooter. So there's really good weather protection available on this CPX. So now we're on to what's not so good about the CPX, and the first thing that's not great is the range. And while this is the 2 batteried version, which costs £4,700 in the UK after the £1,200 UK government grant that you get when you purchase this scooter, the range is still not fantastic. The claimed range is 87 miles, but actually in practice we're getting between 18 and 23 miles per battery, so that's a maximum of between 35 and around 45 miles total range. So there's a big discrepancy there. Admittedly, we're not in a city, we're doing more rural miles, but you know, practically that is, you know, what we're doing. And because obviously the Super Soccer hasn't got a huge amount of power, you need to full throttle it pretty much everywhere, which obviously in turn reduces the amount of capacity that you've got for getting to where you need to go. And connected to that last point is that recharging this scooter is a real faff, and it takes a long time. Now on the website it says it takes 3 hours to recharge a scooter, but we can assume that that is for the one batteried version, because actually in practice it took us 6 hours combined to charge up these two batteries, so that's 3 hours per battery. Now in an ideal world you could actually just plug directly into the scooter, but you'd need an inside garage for that because the charging station has some open grills, and I don't think they'd receive well the fact of getting wet. So if you're not got the ideal setup, you'd need to take the individual batteries out and into your house. You have to bear in mind that these batteries are about 20 kilos each, so they're really heavy. So you imagine carting 40 kilos worth of batteries plus the charger into your house and then leaving it on for 3 hours a pop. You know, it's just a big hassle basically, and you know, ultimately you're only getting another sort of 35 to 40 miles worth of range anyway, so it's a lot of work to get that benefit. And because the batteries are actually located within the seat unit, all of the storage that you might be expecting with a scooter like this is non-existent, because actually the batteries take up all of the space. So you can't put your helmet in here or anything else that you might have hoped that you could put in basically. It's also pretty slow as well. When I read the spec sheet and I saw 171 Newton meters of torque, that's more than a KTM 1290 Super Duke R. I was kind of thinking, God, we're gonna have a right laugh here. I'm thinking wheelies, burnouts, the lot. I thought, you know, even though it's got a restricted top speed, I thought we were gonna have a right laugh. Well, there must be a different way they're measuring the torque figure on this electric vehicle in comparison to the standard testing measurement for motorcycles, because this thing ain't got 170 Newton meters of torque. You know, it's not particularly perky, it's not particularly zippy. It does gather speed nicely, I'll give it that, but it's just not fast, and that means you really do need to sort of like full throttle it everywhere, which is sort of what you'd normally do on a scooter anyway. But don't read that figure and expect something fast, because it isn't. And the final downside about the CPX is that the brakes aren't great, to be honest. This has got like a linked brake system, so it took me a little bit of time to work out really what was going on. But if you press the front brake, you actually really struggle to get the scooter to stop. You know, approaching roundabouts, I was thinking, crikey, am I going to get the thing to stop? And then I press the back brake, and all of a sudden that's where all the power is. So what actually happens in practice is that the front brake operates the front brake, but there's not a lot of power in the front braking system, to be honest, and you definitely need more than just the front brake, which is weird because normally on a motorcycle you're doing like 99% of your braking with your front brake. All of the power resides in the back brake linking system, which links the front and the back. But the real problem is here that when you do apply it quite strongly, because the two are linked, you just end up doing a massive skid everywhere as soon as you apply the brakes. Now that's not massively a problem for me, because I'm quite often doing skids on my motorcycles, because I'm just a bit of an idiot, I suppose. But you know, for new riders and just guys, you know, particularly if you're doing like emergency stops and you're in that situation, you are going to lock up that rear wheel, and that's quite intimidating potentially for you. So just be a little bit careful of how you are applying that, and particularly in the cold and wet, it's just going to lock up. So you got to get used to that sensation a little bit. So all in all, I really wanted to love the Super Soccer CPX, and we're normally really positive about the motorcycles and scooters that we review at Knox. And I really hoped that electric scooter technology was further on than it clearly is. But I've got to be honest here. When I first got my scooter, when I was sort of 16, 17, it opened up a whole new level of freedom for me. No longer was I confounded to home and getting transport from mum and dad and public transport. I was a free man. I could go wherever I wanted and do whatever I wanted. And boy, did I ride that scooter everywhere. I rode it in the wind, I rode it in the rain, I rode it in snow, ice, 365 days of the year, and wherever I wanted. We got up to some right adventures. The problem is with this is that it just doesn't offer that same level of freedom. I could just about do my commute on it and get there and back, but in reality, you know, I couldn't do the other trips on top of that I'd need to. So, you know, if my wife calls us up, can you get milk on the way home? I'm sort of calculating, oh, is it far enough to the shop? You know, have I got enough range to get there, basically? And, you know, therefore that kind of makes it not a viable transport option for me personally. And I think that's a shame, and I'm really hoping that they keep on developing it. Now, you know, in a different scenario, if you're in London and you've got a 2-mile commute every day, but it takes you half an hour on public transport, this Super Socko CPX might work for you, because, you know, you're only going a short distance, you're nipping in between traffic and so on, and the public transport is a lot longer. So that might work for you. But just consider, actually, if that is you and I'm me, I could buy both of us Peugeot Speedfight 125s for the same money as pretty much that this costs, and I'd solve both of our issues. We'd have more performance, we'd have a lot longer range, and we'd probably have a happier life too. Having said all that, I really hope that Super Socko and other electric scooter manufacturers can keep on developing and making better products, and I really hope that they're incentivised by the respective governments to do exactly that. Ultimately, we're all going to be reliant on it in the future, that level of development. But for now, and as it stands, I think the petrol engine scooter will be around for some time longer. So I really hope that you've enjoyed that. I'm going to put all the links in the description for the gear that I've been wearing. Please like the video, please comment. Love to hear about what you think about this scooter and everything else that we're doing at Knox. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.